Welcome back to the third and final list tutorial that I'm going to be doing for the time being. Obviously, there are many more things to do with lists that you can do with lists, but I'm going to be finishing off my free tutorials by showing you how to condense a list into a 2D array and then how to call those items in that array. So let's start off by I'm going to type out a list in a 2D array format. And what this means basically is that it's a list which contains two different types of information. So if you looked at the previous lists tutorial, and if you haven't done the previous list tutorial, I suggest you go back and have a look at those. But in the previous list tutorial, I had two different lists. One was names and one was high scores. And then we looked at combining those together. This list tutorial contains one list and it will contain all of the names and all of the high scores. I'm just going to type that out. I'll do a jump cut and I'll show you how that works in a second. Okay, so we've just come back now. So you can see how this list looks a little bit different to our previous lists. Our previous lists kind of just had this section and that was that, but we can kind of see there are two lists within this list. So I have my first square bracket to say to Python that I'm opening a list. I then do a second square bracket to put my first list in, a comma, and then a second square bracket with a second list. And a final square bracket to say that these two lists are done. So this is what we call a 2D array. It's 2D because it has two elements to it, and we use array or a list. Okay, so this is a 2D array. Now, in order to print something from this list, I need to select what exactly I need to print. So this whole list is list 0. Okay, it's the first list in the array. This list is list 1 because it is the second list in the array, so 0 and 1. Then I need to look at the position I want to print. So if I wanted to print something in list 0, I would then need to choose a position to print, 0, 1, 2, or 3. So let's have a look at how that would actually look. I would do print high score, open my brackets, and initially I'm going to look in list 0. And let's just choose position 0. So what this piece of code is doing is it's saying print high score 0, 0. So look in list 0, so this part of the array here, look in the first part, and then print position 0, which is this. So if I run this code now, you should see that it just prints Lee, which is exactly what we wanted to do. So if we want to print Lee and then the high score attributed to that, so bear in mind now that because Lee is at position 0, we can assume that the high score at position 0 is his high score. Okay, that's how this would normally work. So I want to print that high score as well. So I want to print high score, look at list 1 now, but look at position 0. So look in list 1, which is here, but look in position 0, which is that. So Lee is position 0 here, the score is here, and then we can see Lee and 10 next to it. So what we're going to do next is we're going to try and find the maximum high score. So the highest score and then the person that high score belongs to. So very similar to what we did in the previous list one. But we're going to, obviously it's going to be different because we're looking at a 2D array this time. So what we want to do is we want to find the position first of all of the high score. So if I want to find the position of the high score, I am going to create another index. I'm just going to call this score index, and that is going to look at the high score dot index, and obviously we want to look at this section, this part of high score. So high score 1, index, and then max, and the maximum in high score 1. Okay, so if we run this now, it has its words, but let's just print out the score index as well to make sure it works. Print score index. Okay, so it's saying that the maximum, the position of the highest score is position 3. So 0, 1, 2, 3 is identified that correctly. But let's just go back and have a look at what we actually did. So we have put the maximum score into the score index variable. And the way we found the maximum score is we told Python, first look at highest score, and specifically look at array 1 in high score, which is this section here. Bearing in mind that this is 0, so this is 1. So look in the 1 section. Look over here. Find the index. So we're saying we want you to find the index of something which is over here. What do you want to find the index of? We want you to find the index of the max number which is stored in high score 1. So the max number which is stored in high score 1. So it looks there, it finds 200, it then finds the position of 200, which is 3, and it returns that position for us, like we just had out there. What we can then do is we can then print out our high score. So we just say print. So what we want to do is we want to print out a high score. And first of all, we want to print out the name. So in position 0, and we want to print out the name of the person who scored the highest, basically. And that position is stored in here. So score index. If you were doing this properly, you would use much smaller variable names, and so you can keep track of things, and it wouldn't be so labor intensive to retype out all these things all the time. But what I'm saying here is I'm saying look at this part of the array now, and then when you're there, print out for me the position which has the highest score. So print out the position that corresponds with this line of code here. Has had the highest score with, and then again highest score, but this time I look in this part of the array, but again I want score index because that is the maximum score, that's the position of the highest score. So score index. Right, what we should have when I press F5 is it gives me the name and it gives me the highest score there. Let's just check these as well. Let's do another high score. Oh, actually close that so you can see what it is. So if I've changed the number in there, it automatically finds the new maximum number, it finds the name which relates to that maximum number, and it prints out the score from there. Okay, so that is more or less all we're going to be looking at with regards to lists and arrays. If you want to have a look at how you would then put this into a for loop, have a look at the previous tutorials because they go through putting these into a for loops. But have a practice with these. If there's anything else you want to know about lists and indexing and finding positions, just let me know and I can make another video for you. Okay, well, I hope you got something from that, and thanks a lot.